How's it going, guys? So I'm out here giving all of our animals their evening snacks. So I'm walking back here to take care of the other animals. I want to talk quick. I want to talk about one of the big issues that we're seeing with homesteading and people's interest in homesteading. And yeah, so the reason I'm making this video is because if you get into this and you start scrolling through Facebook, a lot of these farm groups or these like animal groups in your state or in your surrounding area, you're going to notice a lot of people selling off their stuff. Okay, so I kind of want to talk about, if you're going to get into homesteading, some things to expect that you're going to have to deal with. Okay, and sorry for my camera being blurry. It's foggy, it's a little rainy, and I mean, it is what it is. Okay, so the first thing that everybody is kind of misunderstood about in when getting into animals is the startup cost and timeline. Okay, these are two things, but we're going to count it as one. Okay, so startup cost. Let's say you want to get into rabbits. The price of the rabbit is not the price to get into rabbits. You're going to need to buy the rabbit, well, 3 rabbits if you're going to get into breeding them for food. You're going to need to buy the rabbits themselves. Then you're going to have to buy cages for all of those rabbits. You're going to have to buy water bottles or bowls or a watering system for all of those rabbits. You're going to have to buy a feeding system for all of those rabbits. Now, small bowls will work in the beginning, but you got to keep this in mind because you're going to have to fill those as much as the rabbit's going to eat. You're going to have to buy feed for those rabbits. Usually, everyone that I know at least is feeding a pellet and then bales of hay on top of that. You're going to need to find someone to supply you with bales of hay. Do not walk into a farm store like Walmart or something and buy hay. It's like a 2,000% markup from the actual price of hay. So that's just in your startup cost. You're going to need to be able to source all of these things. Okay, that means getting into rabbits is not going to be a cheap endeavor. It's going to cost you a couple $100. It is. Now, of course, hear the ducks back there. Now, of course, you can build a lot of your own stuff. You're still going to have the price of wood. We tend to pick up wood anytime we see it for free on Marketplace or anytime we see it inside the road. There's a fencing company down the road. When they put in new fences and pull out wood fences, they give them away for free. We pick that up constantly because we need it, okay? Because it just reduces our cost. But you're going to have to think about these things. Can you build it, or do you have to buy it, and how much is it going to cost? Now, startup time, which was kind of that other part of step one, if you buy, let's say, baby chicks, okay? We got baby chicks over here. Let's go look at baby chicks. Now, again, if you buy baby chicks, you got to have some sort of a shelter that can have a heating source going into a certain area. So if they're cold, they can go into that area. They got to be able to come out. You have to have specific watering dishes and food dishes that they're not going to get into and drown. It's a whole thing, guys. But let's say these baby chicks. There's just a couple little Rhode Island Reds in there. Rhode Island Reds don't start laying eggs until, I think, 10 or 12 weeks. So that means we aren't going to see an egg, even potentially see an egg, for a few months. So there's a whole timeline where I'm going to have to feed these guys grower feed, which is more expensive than regular feed. I'm going to have to keep them under heat, which is going to increase the electric bill. And they're susceptible to everything, to sickness, to everything. And you're going to have to do that for a while. Now, they're adorable. I'm just going to tell you that right now. They're cute. You're going to reach in here and pet them all the time. Reach in there right now. Take that glove off. These little dudes are adorable. But they're susceptible to everything, guys. And I'm talking, if a cold draft comes in here and they ain't able to get away from it, they're going to pass away. Okay? So again, that's you purchasing animals and not seeing a single egg for like 4 months. Rabbits are kind of the same thing. You know, you're going to buy rabbits. If you buy them as baby rabbits, they're not going to be able to breed until a specific age. A lot of rabbits aren't going to breed at that minimum age. They're just not going to. And then you're going to have that pregnancy time, and then you're going to have that grow out time. If you try to get into rabbits, you're not going to see a rabbit on your dinner plate for, almost a year. A lot of people don't realize that. They think they're going to get into homesteading, and the next thing you know, they're going to have a bunch of chicken eggs out there in a week. It's not going to happen. Even if you buy, say, laying quail that are already laying eggs, when you transport those quail, they will stop laying eggs for a couple weeks. So you're still not getting anything out of them for a while. We ran into that when we were selling quail. We were preparing to sell quail to a buyer, to a market, and we were like, we really need to increase our production. Bought quail that were already at laying age, already currently laying, brought them home. We still had a month and a half where they didn't lay a single egg. Your production doesn't increase. There's no way to instantly increase production on any animal whatsoever, even if you buy them at laying age. That's just not going to happen. So there is going to be a timeline of investment with absolutely no return and constant investment until you start to see that return. Now another thing's going to happen. See how it's getting dark out here? It does not matter what the weather is. I have to come out here every day. It can be, we had snow the other day. We had below zero temperatures the other day. It does not matter what the temperature and the weather is. I have to come out here. Okay, I have rabbits that are in colonies. I have to come out here and take care of them. I have ducks that are on the other side of the shed. Well, they have their access in there. You gonna come say hi? Nope, they said we're staying outside until it gets dark. I have to come out here and check them. I have to come out here and take care of their water. If their water's frozen, I have to find a way to defrost that. Now, you can buy defrosters, but again, you're talking about increase in price. And like, say our ducks alone, okay, just our ducks. We have them in individual runs, multiple runs that go down through this building, so that way we don't overcrowd an area. We would have to buy a defroster for every one of those. So now, is it better for me to drag their water bin out and take it all the way up to the house and throw it in the shower and defrost it? Or is it better for me to buy a defroster? I'm not going to buy defrosters for every single, duck pen and the animals up front, and the quail pens and the rabbits. I'm not going to do it. So in my mind, I need to know that even if it's -10 outside and with a horrible wind chill, I'm going to be outside for a couple hours. It doesn't matter if I'm sick. It doesn't matter if I don't feel good. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be outside. Now, if you're going to travel, let's say you like to go on weekend trips, you better have somebody willing to come take care of your animals, because you're now responsible for all of their lives. So that's kind of the third thing. You are on call 24/7 to come take care of these animals. The fourth thing, I'm holding gloves. Fourth thing, a lot of people don't realize. Now, we said these animals are for food. If you're not comfortable butchering an animal, don't try to raise it for food. Now, we see that all the time with rabbits. Last year, the year before that, my mom had gone to somebody who was trying to start a homestead, and they took all the rabbits and they put them in a big dog kennel. When you put rabbits into colonies like this, they are free to breed whenever they want. And if you don't go out there and process and keep your numbers at a sustainable amount, all of a sudden you're going to find that they get out of control. And this can happen in a year, 2 years, just depending how many rabbits you have in a colony. She had gone out there, and I think over the course of a couple months had purchased something like 40-something rabbits. Just her. Other people were purchasing. This is an online thing. Anybody can go pick up rabbits. And they were dirt cheap, and she was going out there and purchasing them, and she'd bring them back and quarantine them, and then she would feed them and get them up to good health, and then she would resell them for people for various things. Other people wanted to get into it because they were all New Zealand's. I believe, where are we looking? Those two, I don't know if you can see it in there. Right there is a silver fox, and over there is a silver fox. That came from that colony. But he had bought rabbits with intentions to grow them out and butcher them for food source. And then he did not have the emotional capacity. I don't know what you want to say. He didn't have the ability to butcher them. He didn't have the guts to butcher them. And it essentially let the rabbits go free and breed as they will. And then a bunch of them were sick, and a bunch of them had ear mite issues and all these other things. If you're going to get into animals, and you know you're going to butcher it, say it's rabbits or meat chickens or meat ducks or something like that, you need to be able to butcher them. Ooh, motion sensor light kicked on. And it sounds silly, but it's common. It's common on Marketplace for people to be selling a breeding pair of rabbits with babies because they bought them, and then they had babies, and then those grew out, and then they're like, I can't do it. So be prepared for that, because that's part of it. Obviously, if you're doing things for eggs, it's a little different. But you need to be out there collecting eggs like twice a day because you don't want them to freeze and you don't want them to heat up. And so there's steps here, okay? What am I up to? 5? The 5th thing is you need to understand some things about animals. And I'm talking about the care of animals, and to be able to see an animal and tell if it's sick, and to see an animal and tell if it has ear mites. Obviously, it depends on the animal, okay? But for instance, when you put your light's right there. When you put your rabbits on the ground, and we do tractors during the summertime. We're still in the middle of winter. We're just having a couple warm days. But in the winter time or in the summertime, we do tractors. So they'll be set up small, a little bit smaller than this, but same kind of basic setup, and we move them around our property. Allows the rabbits to eat fresh grass and to be able to forage and things like that. And it distributes natural manures all across your property, which is great because then you create more nutritious soils. But anyways, so when you do that, there's the susceptibility to ear mites or sickness, and some rabbits don't do the switch well. So when we go from grains and hays like we are right now, where they just have constant source, and we go to moving the animals around the yard, which is mostly a grass diet, and then we'll still give them some grains and some hay as like a supplement or like a filler. When we do that, some rabbits don't transition well. They don't pick up with the fact of like, oh, I should be eating off, this other stuff. That little white one right there, he's one of them. When we switched, and he was the opposite. When we switched him from green grass and going around the yard, which he had done all year, to this pen where we were now feeding him hay and pellet, he didn't understand that he needed to go eat that hay and pellet because that's his time to eat. He was used to being able to eat any time of the day. He lost a bunch of weight. You, as the farmer, as the owner, need to be able to visibly see from across the pen that rabbit's either not acting right, doesn't look right, he looks too slim, something's wrong. You need to be able to see that, grab that rabbit, and figure it out. You don't want a bunch of vet bills. It's just the reality of it. They're chasing each other around the pen. Anyways, you don't want a bunch of vet bills. Vet bills get expensive, especially with farm animals. So you need to learn what to grab and check for. Ear mites are a big one for us because, again, they're on the ground. I need to be able to look across there and say that rabbit's ear looks like it's dropped a little bit. Go grab that rabbit, check it for ear mites, and then know the treatment for it. And know how to make that treatment for it, which is easy, but you need to know it. Same thing if you own ducks. You need to be able to visibly look at the duck and say, that duck looks dehydrated. Is it getting water? That duck looks too slim. Is it getting food? So you got to keep those things in mind. You need to know animals. And the 6th thing, and probably it's what I'm going to call the most important thing, okay? Farm animals pass away, okay? They do. It's a reality that as farmers we deal with. We know someday we're going to wake up, and even if it's like our breeding pair that we had no intentions of ever slaughtering, we had no intentions of eating, we get more attached to those animals, okay? It happens. The animals you've seen at the beginning of the video, the ones that are up front of the house, those are what we call our pet animals, okay? Those are the ducks that we use for the eggs we eat in the house. Those are the rabbits that they're both, giants. They're in, giant rabbits are expensive, and those are the ones that walk up to us and they let us pet them on the head, and they're not afraid of anything because they're in an area that has a little guardian dog up there, so nobody comes up there to mess with them. I'm messing with the lighting, guys. It's getting dark outside. So nobody goes up there to mess with them, and they feel safe around us. So they run up and want petted and held, and they'll get hand-fed. There's ducks, there's chickens up there, and there's rabbits up there. We're attached to those animals, okay? So when a hawk came into our property and attacked some of our chickens, we were upset about it. And we went out and bought antibiotic spray, and we took our chickens inside, and we were, healing them and doing all these things. We're attached to those animals. Those animals die, we're upset about it. But it happens. They're animals. They're susceptible to so many things. I mean, if a rabbit gets scared because something comes up to the cage, like say a coyote, it'll run itself into the side of the cage and break its own neck. That's tragic, okay? We've had, I don't want to put it in a video because I don't want to freak you guys out, but make sure your cages are raccoon proof. Yeah, because they'll reach through there and grab them. It's traumatic to see, but you need to be ready for that. Sometimes a duck will do something stupid, like during a rain and snow and 0-degree storm, stand outside and go take a bath in the water and then be soaking wet and freeze. We've had where baby rabbits, a whole group of baby rabbits we had were completely fine and they were doing great. And all of a sudden it started raining, and even though they had shelter right next to them and they had all these places they could go to be dry, they stood out in the rain, and as it started to freeze, a bunch of them passed away because we weren't home. And I came home to like freezing rain and rabbits standing out all in the open. And I'm like, why? The adult rabbits in the pen with you went in the shelter. Why did you stand out here in the rain? There was an overhead. There was boxes to go into. You just chose not to. Sometimes that happens, and it happens more frequently if you do something like go to a farm store and pick up baby chickens, like what I just did over there. Those baby chickens are not the highest quality. Same thing with the rabbits you're going to buy, they're not the highest quality. Reality is that those farm stores, like say Rural King and those, they are not willing to pay a fair price for the animals from the farmer. Take a rabbit, for instance. I think Rural King pays $6 a rabbit, and it's a rabbit that I got more than $6 a feed into by the time I can sell it to them. And if I sell it privately on Facebook Marketplace, I get like 3 times that, but they won't pay a good price. So when you see a bunch of rabbits in there that look all the same, you know somebody out there is like not breeding a good rabbit that they could get a good quality for, a good quality price for, so they're selling them there. Okay, so like our Rhode Island Reds. By the time I drove from Rural King home with the box in front of the heater in the car, so it's at good temperature, I had already lost 2 chicks. Nothing I did. It was just the way it was. I bought 6 of them, and by the time I got home from the store, they had passed away in the box, and everybody else was doing fine. You picked them up, you put them in a box, you stressed them out, they got shook around a little bit as you were walking through the store. They get stressed and they pass away. So animals passing away is part of this. There's going to be a time, I don't care if you're raising sheep, it's going to be a time where the sheep that you like, that you might be using for birthing, you're going to walk outside one day, and it's going to be out in the pasture passed away. Be prepared for that. And so like with our stuff, every once in a while we have friends that like to bring their kids over. Kids love little animals. I will always tell my wife, I don't care if I was out there that morning, especially if we have like baby rabbits, okay? Stupid stuff will happen with baby rabbits. New mothers will sometimes eat the babies. It's weird stuff like that. I will tell my wife, all right, talk to them, bring them back there. I'm going to go check the animals. And I'll run back there before everybody else, and I'll check everything. Because it just happens. It's part of farming. It's part of the whole thing. Okay, you can't expect every birth to be perfect. You can't expect everybody to survive. It just doesn't happen like that in the animal kingdom. Or with humans. But, you know, of course, we're talking about animals right now. So, those are six things that are often not discussed enough when people are trying to get into homesteading. Everybody wants to talk about the dollar per pound of meat that it'll cost you to raise a rabbit from the baby to butcher size. But nobody ever talks about, well, but also you gotta buy a breeding pair and 3 cages and 3 of this and 3 of that. And you're going to have so much feed into those rabbits before they'll breed, and then so much time frame and feed into a rabbit before it gives birth, and then so much feed into that rabbit before it's at butchering age. There's a lot that goes into it that just isn't being calculated out. And so that's what I want you to think about today. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm doing it, clearly. So there is value there. The value there is I love to, produce quality eggs for my home. And I need to go grab the eggs, actually. Like I said, you do it twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. I gotta go do my evening checks. Because it's getting dark, and I'm gonna run out of light. But, be prepared for those things. Because it's part of farming. It's part of the whole experience. One thing I forgot is you need to have an area to store your feeds. But you can do that in a shed, a garage. I know somebody that took the box off a box truck because it was free. It was like a box truck that had been blown up. He took the box off it. That's waterproof storage. So you're gonna have to think about something like that. Waterproof storage. You can use trash cans or bins, or there's a lot of options out there. Just keep it in mind. But I hope it helped. Like I said, I'm not discouraging you from getting into homesteading. I'm just giving you all the warnings that nobody will tell you. Because once you buy the animals, you're responsible for them. And if you go out and do something crazy like buy 3 rabbits before you have any cages ready, you're responsible to figure all that stuff out. And if you're going to do that, at least go to Dollar Tree and buy the bowls from there. And then you'll have bowls for $2.50 rather than spending $18 on a watering bottle. Dog cages work good. Like little dog kennels, the little bitty ones, those work good. You usually have to add another little thing of wiring around it because some of the rabbits will squeeze out depending. But yeah, I hope it helps. I hope you get into it. It is time consuming. It is a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's worth it to know that you're providing quality food that doesn't have a bunch of chemicals in it, that isn't being mass grown to the fastest rate and butchered at the fastest speed, and that's not being treated with anything, and it's just an organic animal that you're going to feed to you and your family. And there is a taste difference and there's a quality difference. So get out there and do it, and have a good day.